By the authority given in the statutes of the Open University, I declare this congregation open for the conferment of degrees and the presentation of graduates. Distinguished guests, graduates, and friends of the university, it is my privilege and pleasure to welcome you all to the 14th of the Open University's degree ceremonies being held in 2018. We are delighted to welcome the Chairman of Torquay Council, Councillor Ian Doggett, who is accompanied by Mrs. Maggie Douglas Dunbar, who have found time in their very busy diaries to be with us today. It's also my great pleasure to welcome our honorary graduate, Dame Julia Slingo. We're delighted to be able to honour her today. During the past year, the Open University has awarded over 20,000 qualifications, ranging from Certificate of Higher Education to Doctor of Philosophy. Throughout 2018, more than 7,000 graduates are being presented for their qualifications at degree ceremonies such as this one today in Torquay. These are being held in 11 different towns and cities throughout England, and also in Belfast, Cardiff, Glasgow, and Dublin. This illustrates the extraordinary scale, scope, and reach of the Open University. Now, it goes without saying that today is a very important occasion in the life of you, our graduates, your families and loved ones, as well as the university staff who, I hope you will feel, have nurtured and supported you. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that the occasion is so important that it needs to be solemn. Well, you'd be quite wrong. In every sense, this is a day of celebration. So we will be very disappointed if anyone crosses the stage today to anything less than thunderous applause or any other way you choose to express your enthusiasm and support. So with that in mind, why don't all of today's graduates briefly stand? Friends, family, Open University staff, let's start today's ceremony by giving all our amazing graduates a huge round of applause. You can sit down again, thank you. We'll be doing some more of that later on. There's one more way you can show your appreciation to your graduate. If you post messages or photos on social media, use the hashtag OU_ceremonies, that's hashtag OU_ceremonies, to share your congratulations and celebrations with the world outside, as well as with everyone here today at the ceremony. Today's ceremony will begin with the presentation of those graduates who have gained higher degrees and first degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Engineering, and Bachelor of Laws, and have been able to attend here today. They will be presented by Mr. Steve Clark, Director of Student Success. We will then see the awarding of the honorary degree of Doctor of the University to Dame Julia Slingo. Dr. Janet Haresnape, Senior Lecturer in the Faculty of Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, will present Dame Julia, who will sign the honorary graduate's book and make a reply. Then we will continue with our presentation of graduates with those who have gained degrees in Bachelor of Science, foundation degrees and diplomas of higher education and have been able to attend here today. To conclude the ceremony, I will give a personal address to the graduates. I now call upon Mr. Clark to present the graduates.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, I shall now present graduates who have gained higher degrees and have been able to attend here today. For the degree of Doctorate in Education, I present to you for a thesis entitled Telling and Listening to Practice-Related Stories, Views and Experiences of Final Year Midwifery Students, Rosalind Weston. I present to you, for the degree of Master of Arts in Childhood and Youth, Zoe Langley. Lisa Wellington. For the degree of Master of Arts in History, I present Karen Carey. For the degree of Master of Business Administration, I present Cheryl Lawrence Tarr. Thomas Lockie. For the degree of Master of Education, I present Diana Casado Olivieri. Joanna Webb. For the degree of Master of Laws, I present Felicity Miles. For the degree of Master of Science in Advancing Healthcare Practice, I present Munthandazo Nkomo. For the degree of Master of Science in Computing, I present Geoffrey Hayward. Dominic Smith. For the degree of Master of Science in Development Management, I present Julie Escott. For the degree of Master of Science in Earth Science, I present Helen Calver. For the degree of Master of Science in Environmental Management, I present Sue Whale. For the degree of Master of Science in Mathematics with distinction, I present Christopher Morris. Pro Vice-Chancellor, I shall now present graduates who have gained Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Engineering, and Bachelor of Law degrees and have been able to attend here today. The full subject details are printed in the insert in the ceremony programme. I present, for the degree of Bachelor of Arts with First Class Honours, Shirley Ash. Peter Avis. Adam Boone. Jenny Harbath. Laura Hembrow. Lydia Keogh. Patricia Maloney. Alison Parsons. Mike Rook. Tanya Webb. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts with Honours, I present Michael Allen. Robert Ansell. Daniel Arnold. Sophie Bailey. Angela Barker. Kelly Bridle. Fiona Carter. Amy Castles Green. Emma Kavanagh. Sarah Chalice. Helen Linda Chapman. Michael Cole. Anne Dommett. Matthew Eldin. Helen Elliott. Gwen Evans. David Finley. Ben Foster. Ravina Gill. Jessica Godden. Steska Goskvaranova. Hannah Griffin.
My name is Yadi Gei Otokore.
David Hall.
Daniel Hall.
Oh, Daniel Hall. Apologies, Daniel Hall. Amber Hambleton. Rebecca Hazel. Sarah Hensher. Mel Holyoke. Leanne Horn. Michaela Hozak. Delia Yuga. Neil Jackson. Louise Jones. Saeed Kamanbouz. Katerina Karnachova. Hayley King. Teresa Long. April McCullen. Matthew Maroney. John Mullin. Gregory Osborne. Heather Packman. David Page. Alexandra Plunkett. David Rolfe. Josette Sadek. Sarah Shepherd. Cameron Smart. Jason Smith. Natalie Smith. Terry Statham. Sean Simons. Tracy Taylor. James Tressida. Emma Trickey. Liana Tucker. Catherine Turner. Richard Walk. Jennifer Walker. Sarah Ware. Ben Warwicker. Keita West. Suzanne Wilk. Sue Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, I present Gilly Barrett. Susan Morris. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Social Work with Honours, I present Sabina Clark. Tom Goodwin. Samantha Horrell. Morwena Peters. Joanne Rodd. Suzanne Rowe. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws with First Class Honours, I present Jason Dix. And for the degree of Bachelor of Laws with Honours, I present Helen Badley. Michael Bell. Lawrence Belt. Amber Dan. Ross Felham. Tom Haveron. India Joyce. Hayley Luxton. Lauren Pickard. And Emma Wall.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, colleagues, graduates, guests. Professor Dame Julia Slingo's pioneering achievements in meteorology have not only improved our ability to understand and forecast the weather, but also to prepare for the long-term impacts of climate change. Julia read physics at the University of Bristol and then joined the Meteorological, or Met, Office as a scientist in the early 1970s, at a time when exciting advances were being made with the development of new technologies, computers, and satellites. Julia's career has been central to the subsequent remarkable advances in this discipline. She conducted one of the earliest studies which modelled the impact of increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. She has held posts within the Met Office, the University of Reading, and the National Centre for Atmospheric Research in Colorado, where she became widely known for her use of groundbreaking simulations of the climate using supercomputers. I first met Julia in 1990 as the mother of a shy 4-year-old who started at the village school alongside my own daughter. I imagine there are many mothers here today who can relate only too well to the challenge of combining work with family, and seeing how Julia has gone on to have such a successful career should surely be an inspiration to any mothers who aspire to a degree in science. Julia was the UK's first female professor of meteorology at the University of Reading. Here she became the Director of Climate Research at the National Centre for Atmospheric Science and made important contributions to the Stern Review on the Economics of Climate Change and to establishing the international consensus over its causes. At Reading, she founded the Walker Institute for Climate System Research, which brings researchers together to develop interdisciplinary solutions to the social, economic, and political impacts of climate change on the world's poorest nations. In 2008, she was appointed Chief Scientist at the Met Office in Exeter, leading 500 scientists developing short-term weather predictions and long-term climate projections. In this high-profile role, which places her on the front line of politics and policy as well as scientific research, she has frequently been the target of hostile reactions from climate change skeptics. She has tackled criticism with her characteristically measured and thoughtful responses, relying on the robust and overwhelming evidence base which she and her colleagues have helped establish. Julia has an ability to explain hugely complex scientific phenomena to the public and is a powerful advocate for transparency, honesty, and integrity in science. Julia was the first female president of the Royal Meteorological Society and was appointed OBE in 2008 and DBE in 2014. She is a Fellow of the Royal Society, a foreign member of the US National Academy of Engineering, and in 2015 was awarded the World Meteorological Organization's most prestigious honor, the International Meteorological Organization Prize. Of the many huge and complex issues facing humanity today, climate change is perhaps the greatest challenge of all, with implications for everything from water, food and energy security to flooding and migration. Julia's work has played a vital role in helping the scientific community, political leaders, and the wider public to understand the changes and anticipate the consequences. We are delighted to recognise her groundbreaking contribution to climate science. Pro-Vice-Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate, I present to you, for the honorary degree of Doctor of the University, Professor Dame Julia Slingo.
Well, what an extraordinary occasion. I have to say I've sat through and stood through many degree ceremonies in my academic career and indeed in other honorary degrees that I've received. But I have to say that this one will live in my memory because you are such a wonderfully diverse group of graduates. I've never seen anything like it. And I have to say I'm... only because you're usually, when I go, you're usually all at least under 30 anyway, and a lot younger. But what's so humbling about today is the huge diversity of nations, of ages, and wonderful to see so many women too here in the graduate community. So. And I'm humbled because I know just a little bit, but I think only a little bit, of the sort of sacrifices that so many of you will have made to be here today. And to stand there and sit there and hear the question, how long did it take you? And the answers that I heard is just staggering. Because those of us who just went through the usual university route, I think had a very easy time. And I can only applaud you for your willingness to take on a challenge like this, to stick with it, and to come out at the end with such a fantastic achievement. Looking back on my life, of course, and my career, I had no idea when I started out as a graduate from Bristol of where I would end up. And I still actually quite often wake up in the morning and wonder how on earth did I ever become a dame, let alone a professor. And these were things that were sort of, I felt, were beyond my reach. But a career is an extraordinary thing, and you can't plan it, and you can't anticipate what life will throw at you as you go through your career. And when I started out in the Met Office and did, as you've heard, the very first calculations of what a doubled CO2 world might be like, I had absolutely no idea that 40 years on, it would potentially be the biggest challenge that we as a global society face. I had no concept that we would be gathering together all the nations of the world, that we would come to Paris in 2015 and over 190 nations would sign up to do something about climate change because of the science that we started way back all those years ago would become so important to our future. So you can never anticipate. And what it has meant to me as a scientist going on that journey from those very early days when, I'll give you a number, CO2 concentration in the atmosphere was 320. And it was 280 when we started the Industrial Revolution, way back in the 19th century. And prior to that, for at least 800,000 years, it had never been higher than 280. It is now at 405 or so. Just think where we've gone from 320 to 405 in a matter of just a handful of decades. This is an extraordinary change, the biggest change that the world has ever seen in its natural history. And we know it's all to do with us. And so the sort of science that I've had to learn in my career has meant that many times I've had to study and look at things that I didn't know much about and make sure that I understood them. So I have a little bit of an understanding of the challenge when you decide that actually I'm going to get a degree in this subject, how much I have to go and work against and with all the pressures of other demands on your lives. So I'll just give you a little snapshot, because my very shy 4-year-old, my second daughter, was quite a difficult child. And when she was born, we were living in the States, and I thought, this is fine. She'll be like the first one, and after the first few months, I can go back and do a little bit of work part-time, but that would be great. Just keep my career ticking over. And also, I was seriously interested. I absolutely loved doing climate research. They didn't have to pay me to do it. I loved doing it. And I suspect that all of you have loved doing whatever your degree is. You probably wouldn't say that all the time, but you wouldn't be here today if you hadn't loved doing the work. Anyway, there was no way I could work with this little girl because she didn't want to be away from Mum. So I was very fortunate that I had an understanding director at the centre where my husband was and where I was. And I think in your lives, I suspect, and in your stories, is an understanding boss somewhere along the lines that's let you achieve what you achieve. And he said, never mind. He said, I'll give you an office and I'll pay you an hourly rate for whenever you can get in, which wasn't very often. And I'll give you a great slug of computer time. And I said, thank you very much, that's great. And he gave me, in those days, a modem. So this was in 1987, 86, I guess. A modem to get me into the supercomputer up the hill. And I had this in my basement. And it's hard to believe, but in those days, there was no internet, so the link was quite slow, so I would want to run my simulations, so I'd type my instruction in to the screen, and it would come up letter by letter, and I'd press send. And then I'd go off and iron one of my husband's shirts. It's a very good way of doing the ironing. Then I'd come back, and I'd be able to type the next instruction, and so it went on. All evening, when I got through his shirts, and I submitted a job to the supercomputer. And at the same time, I discovered that if we were going to stay in the States, and I was to continue my career, I had to have a PhD. So this was kind of daunting. Here I am with 2 young children, and I need to get a PhD. Fortunately, I could submit my published papers as a thesis, but I still had to go and do the viva. And for any of you who've been in a viva, it's pretty scary. So I spent several months learning again all my basic meteorology, all the equations, everything that I thought I might need to know for a conversation with some academics back at Bristol University. And so I have a little inkling for a few months of how hard it is at the end of the day with 2 small children, and you've done everything else, to sit down in the evening and study. And I realised that my brain was not as sharp by the time I was approaching 40 as it was when I was at university. So it took me a lot longer to learn things and remember them. Anyway, I did get the PhD, and they were very nice to me, and we had a great conversation. So just, I have to say, my little story, I'm sure, is reflected in all your stories. And so it is, as I say, quite a humbling experience to be here. And the final thing I wanted to say is that we all know that dealing with climate change and all the other pressures on the planet, from the growing population, from urbanization, from limited natural resources, especially water, will require people with a whole range of different skills. And the more we train people in every aspect of the challenges we face, scientific, social, economic, innovation, technology, Many of these challenges I've talked about will be solved by innovative technology, IT, whatever it is. We will need all of them if we're going to get through the coming decades as a safe, healthy society, not just in the UK, but around the world. And continuous learning through your career will be so essential. It will not be enough to have a degree when you leave school. That whole concept of learning as you go, facing new problems, having to learn about new things will be how we'll solve the challenges we face. And so congratulations to all of you. It is indeed a great honour to be here. And I thank the university for bestowing this degree upon me, which I very much appreciate. Thank you.
Pro-Vice-Chancellor, continuing the presentation of graduates, I shall now present those who have gained Bachelor of Science degrees, foundation degrees, and diplomas of higher education and have been able to attend here today. The full subject details are printed in the insert within the ceremony programme. I present, for the degree of Bachelor of Science with First Class Honours, Cassie Ball. Cassie Ball. Cassie Ball. Neil Beach. Rachel Burrell. Ben Horton. Mark Jeffries. John Kirby. Kirsty Lee. Gemma Miller. Nikki Newman. Jacob Pierpoint. Andrew Werrett. Zephaniah Adukusi. Robert Allpress. Henri Atigla. Zoe Aylett Cleaver. Michael Baker. Valerie Black. Sarah Brearley. Evelyn Campbell. Martin Cattell. Kaz Corbett. Kelly Costello. Claire Cooch. Richard Cropper. Jeffrey Kermy. Becky Davies. Victoria Edwards. Robin Gardner. Laura Gavasinga. Sandra Hadley. Brian Hamilton. Clive Harding. Andrew Hardwick. Louise Kartsmarts. Vlastimil Klucha. Brian Coatsiban. Susan Lau. Catherine Look. Holly Loxton. Amy Mills. Stephanie Mottershead. Charlotte Newbold. Patrick. Sophie Penn-Elegon. Julie Pope. Ivana Smikova. Nithila Suryan. Raymond Stringer. Sabina Santo. Jonathan Tidball. Amy Voden. Paul Vogt. Marie Waite. Angela Walker. Penny Walters. Emma Ware. Andrew Wern. Maxine Webster. Sarah Whitford. Connor Williams. Saffron Wright. Joe Weimer. For the degrees of Bachelor of Science with Honours and a Bachelor of Arts, I present Vicky Page. For the degree of Bachelor of Science, I present Catherine Barden. Jay Barlow. David Batho. Richard Bentley. Rhian Fox. Madeline Irvine. Brian Kelleher. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Nursing Practice with First Class Honours, I present Nicholas Wood. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Nursing Practice with Honours, I present Madhika Sabinda. For a foundation degree, I present Bethany Davey. Nicola Hoare. Sharon Merritt. Alan Reid. Tracy Stoneman. And for the Diploma of Higher Education, I present Jo Coultus. And William O'Fay.
Phew. My hand is just recovering, I think. So, good afternoon, everyone. Guests, staff, and of course, our wonderful graduates. This is a very special day for everyone here, one to remember for the rest of your lives. I heard a few amazing stories as people were walking across the stage. Somebody was studying, I think, for their third degree with us. Somebody had 2 children and studied for 7 years. There were others who completed their studies in 4 years. Quite an amazing set of achievements. And I could see on the faces of the people as they came across the stage that mixture of elation, terror, jubilation, joy, all of the emotions you would expect. And of course, we heard it from the audience as well. So some wonderful, inspiring stories, some wonderful, inspiring achievements that we've seen. Each of you is extraordinary, but together you're even more extraordinary. Indeed, I believe you're one of the most amazing bodies of graduates anywhere in the UK. In fact, today all of you and your friends and supporters are probably sharing this auditorium with the most extraordinary people you're ever likely to meet. For family, friends and supporters, you know the incredible efforts that your graduate went to in achieving their qualification. But many of you, and many of our graduates today, won't know very much about each other as graduates, and just amazing how you are as a group. So I'd like to take a few moments to show you why. So I'm going to ask our graduates a few questions so we can all discover a bit more about you. And if you can, would you mind raising your hand to my questions? So the first one is, who was employed or did voluntary work at some point during their study? Okay. Second question, who helped bring up a family during their study? Third question, who cared for parents or other dependents during their study? And the last question, and please don't put up your hand if you'd rather not to or if it's tricky for you, but who carried out their studies while registered with a disability? Some disabled students are naturally unable to attend, so the number of students with disabilities studying with us are much higher than the show of hands we've seen today. In fact, overall, we have 23,000 students with disabilities, not only more than any other university, but almost more students with a disability than many other universities have students. As you saw, almost every student here has needed to fulfill some other obligation alongside their study. Compare that with students at conventional universities, whose extra duties might only extend to the sports team, and I speak for experience here, or indeed their commitment to the student bar. Your efforts are so much greater. You are members of a university that believes that where you start in life shouldn't limit where you go. And let me share a small frustration I have over the words that are sometimes used to describe students like you. Conventional students are described as full-time students, and OU students like you are described as part-time students. Part-time, more like double time with the OU. You've had a very tough shift indeed. But perhaps there's only one thing tougher than being an OU student, and that's living with one. And many of you, as you came across the stage today, pointed out your friends and family members, telling me that your achievements belong to them just as much to you. So let's take a moment to acknowledge the support of your family and friends who are celebrating with you today. They have been by your side every step of the way. Let's thank them for supporting you, for standing by you. So graduates, please locate your friends and family in the crowd, and let's give them a massive round of applause. And can we also thank that other vital group that have helped you get here today? The OU's wonderful academics, represented by my colleagues here on the platform. They wrote and presented your course, and crucially were your tutors, we call them ALs or associate lecturers, who taught you and got you through. I hope you'll agree that they are deserving of huge appreciation, as are the many other staff who work at the university in support roles. They keep the show on the road for us all, so let's give them a round of applause. You are all absolutely special, but you're also special because of the quality of the university you've just graduated from and the standards that we set. Standards that we know employers recognise and value. Over 1,500 employers regularly invest in our courses, from small companies, local authorities and government to sector giants like IBM and indeed the NHS. A recent government survey found that employers perceive part-time students to be, and I quote, hard-working and committed, and that they also, and I quote, recognise the importance of supporting their employees' study aspirations. So an OU qualification is something to be proud of, something well recognised and well respected. I hope that if you are looking for a new job or a promotion following your qualification, you can remind your employer of that. And if you are thinking about things to tell people about the university of which you are now a graduate, here are a few more facts which I hope they would find impressive. The OU led the way in digital innovation when it set up the UK's first platform for massive online open courses, or MOOCs, free learning for the world, through an initiative called FutureLearn. Since it was set up, it has brought over 6 million learners together globally. Many of you will be familiar with our partnership with the BBC. Whenever you see the OU Shield at the end of a TV programme, you can be sure there will be something extra to learn. For instance, take the recent OU BBC programme Blue Planet, watched by almost half the UK population, and many of us here today. I'm sure you will agree that the programme provided a truly awe-inspiring insight into our beautiful planet, but it also raised some important scientific issues, not least around plastic pollutions, which has had so much attention since. We're also doing wonderful work with those who need our help the most. Recently, the Open University's English in Action project delivered a collaboration with Cambridge Education and won the prestigious Pioneer Award. This innovative 10-year project changes the way that children, young people and adults in Bangladesh learn English. I'd also like to say a little bit about our research at the Open University. When we took part in the last UK exercise to assess university research quality, it showed that nearly 3/4 of the Open University's research was marked as 4 or 3-star. That means either world-leading or internationally excellent. And this research sometimes captures the public imagination. Did you know, for instance, that it was OU scientists that recently discovered evidence of water on Mars? They found that Mars once had large seas on its surface and a water cycle similar to that of Earth. We are incredibly proud of our contribution to recent space exploration. We've just launched a project called SuperWASP, Wide Angle Search for Planets, which allows anyone to be an astronomer and to look for new planets. This project helps you to work out what over 30 million objects discovered in space are. Back here on Earth, we have also created the award-winning Child Witness Interview Simulator, which is helping train the next generation of police officers. So as you can see, you're a member of a university that is a world leader in technology, in innovation, and in helping people to learn. And you will always be a member of this university, our movement of millions with its mission of one. Today, you join a community of Open University alumni around the world. The OU has been by your side throughout your studies. Today, we give you a new commitment to stay with you on your lifelong journey. Our motto, on the crest behind me, is learn and live. That is something all Open University graduates embody as soon as they step back out into their busy lives, because we are the people who open up the future of learning. So continue to learn, continue to live. You have proven skills that you have the ability. Be confident that you can change the world around you for the better. You are now part of a vast network of people as extraordinary as you are. Make your voice heard. Join our alumni careers group, Toucan, on LinkedIn. Share your professional experiences there and make new connections. Or perhaps try one of our free online courses on Open Learn or Future Learn. Or maybe when you've had a pause to recover, think about continuing your studies with another OU course. And remember, our careers service is there to support you for another 3 years after you've finished your course. Now, you may have already been congratulated by members of our alumni team. If you didn't get the chance to meet them today, they'll be in touch to tell you about what our Alumni Association can offer you, as well as the ways that you can give back to your university. One way is through our Open Up the Future campaign, which is helping to open up opportunity and lives for many more people. We will see a lot more of that during 2019, which will be the year of our 50th anniversary. So watch this space on that one. Because when you leave today, you become an ambassador for the Open University and all that it stands for. Its values of social justice and equality, and its ambition for education and knowledge to be open to all. Share your experience with others you know. Tell people what your OU journey has meant to you and what it could mean for them. Please share your experiences with others. I hope you might have seen and heard our inspiring TV and cinema and radio adverts recently that bring so vividly to life the trials and jubilations being an OU student. But we know, of course, that for potential students, a word of recommendation from you as an OU student and graduate is better than any commercial. You are our best advert, and we want you to be proud to say, I studied there. In a moment, the proceedings will end and the ceremonial party will process out. Please do join me, our honorary graduate, and all the processing party outside the auditorium so that we can congratulate you in person. But before we do that, can I ask one last time for all our graduates to stand and for everyone here to join me in giving them another huge round of applause. Congratulations. The proceedings of this degree ceremony have been completed, and I now declare this meeting of congregation closed. Would all those who are able to stand please do so?